Hello, world. Welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. Hello, world, and welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live from the Joy Virtual Studio right here in the beautiful Finger Lakes region of New York State. It is Tuesday, January 20th, and yes, it is cold. I don't know how my Northeastern audience is doing today, but here in Rochester, New York, it's about 8 degrees outside right now. The wind chill, it's like -3. And it feels like -12 or -15. I go through a wind tunnel to get to my studio every day. And not only did it blow my hair all over the place, it was very nicely done for the show. But I mean, it is absolutely freezing. I hope everyone is staying warm. We have so much to get to today on the SJ Show. You see the headline for today. The Epstein cover-up continues. We have a tweet from Tom Massey and updates on the release of the Epstein files, or the non-release. It looks as if we have full-scale cover-up from this administration, from Donald Trump to Pam Bondi to the entirety of the Republican Party. Many of them are just moving on. They don't want to be bothered with this anymore. And it's been, I think, about 1% of the files have been released, and they are now obstructing justice. So what is happening, in DC and by this administration is illegal. Tom Massey has something to say about that. We're going to look at that today. Also, a big report in the 404 on the Palantir Elite app. Things are heating up in the theater of Minnesota. We are continuing to have abuses of United States citizens by ICE agents, and unconstitutional actions. We also have the use of new technologies, surveillance technologies. We have been talking about that for many, many years here on the Shannon Joy Show. This is just another example. The Palantir Elite app is being used by these ICE officials to violate the constitutional rights, the Fourth Amendment rights to privacy of United States citizens in their attempt to take care of the illegal immigration population. And of course, they're using illegal immigration to justify police state unconstitutional tactics. I think that is why the theater exists to begin with. But you've seen all of the videos of ICE agents sticking a phone in front of a person's face, reading their biometrics, and apparently being delivered all sorts of data. Well, we have information on that. We're going to be talking to the expert on the technocracy, Patrick Wood. He is the founder of technocracy.news. He will be with us today live in the Joy Virtual Studio at the top of the hour, right around 1 p.m. Eastern Time, for a full report on the rise of techno-fascism and the surveillance state, the police surveillance state, not only in the U.S., but across the globe. He's going to have all the information. Really compelling piece that I posted in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show today. AI psychosis. We're seeing people go absolutely mad because of some elements of artificial intelligence. It's all pretty bad. We're going to get a full report from Patrick Wood today, live in the Joy Studio. So make sure you tune in. And, that among other things, it's pretty crazy what is going on in Minnesota. We're also seeing videos now of the Black Panthers preparing to go out and stand up to ICE. We have reports of Antifa flooding into Minnesota to confront ICE agents. This further proves to me that Minnesota is a theater, that there is a color revolution happening in the United States of America. This is absolutely a psychological operation, but also a military operation. And they have chosen Minnesota to be the theater of this war on the United States citizen. They look to set Republican against Democrat, liberal against conservative, ICE against Antifa, ICE against the Black Panthers, and they hope to foment a civil war. They want blood on the streets. They want American citizens fighting each other, not just in Minnesota. They want this to spill over into other cities across the country so that they can deploy even more troops. As you know, yesterday we covered the situation with Donald Trump. He is in Switzerland, in Davos, at the World Economic Forum's annual gathering, but we do have 1,500 troops on standby, ready to deploy into Minnesota if Donald Trump invokes the Insurrection Act. So this is all a tinderbox. I think it's purposeful. I think it's being deployed against us. And the only thing I can tell my fellow Americans, left and right, is to remain peaceful. Don't go anywhere near Antifa or the Black Panthers or even the ICE agents, because, you know, there is certainly an agenda there to stoke up tension and fears and even violence among regular Americans. And we just have to resist that completely. It does have the added benefit, however, of introducing so many liberal Democrats to the Second Amendment. So we have some video. A liberal Democrat fella in Minnesota is invoking his Second Amendment rights and standing up. And he has, yeah, go ahead and bring up the video there. So this guy, in fact, Annie, if you want to run the audio, it's actually interesting what he has to say. He's being confronted, but this is a liberal Democrat. And it's amazing to me that through all of this, we now have liberal Democrats who believe in the Constitution actually supporting the right to keep and bear arms and understanding, deploying it appropriately, right? The point of having an armed citizenry is so that we can stand up to, if necessary, a rogue police force or a rogue government. And so I just find this all to be incredibly fascinating. This guy just tickles me. I mean, he's out there, he's kind of roly-poly and, you know, but standing on his property. So he's on his property. He has clearly a license to carry the weapon. And it's interesting, it appears to be an assault rifle, which is, I mean, it's the weapon that all liberals love to hate. But it just shows you how people just abandon their principles. You said, what, Shay? I know. I can't listen. It's amazing how people switch sides. And then you have people on the right. This is even more interesting. So some of the biggest gun advocates and Second Amendment advocates on the right are now out on Twitter saying, arrest this guy, he's harassing ICE, you know, take him down. And these are the people who would, I mean, this would be the situation that they would 100% support a person's right to keep and bear arms, but now they're just completely switching sides. So the liberal Democrats love them some assault rifles in Minnesota, and the right-leaning Second Amendment gun-toting Republicans are like, confiscate the guns, take this guy down, screw the Second Amendment, we don't care about it anymore because we love us some Trump, and anything that he does with ICE or with the military is justified because, well, he's our bully. He's our tyrant. It's just amazing. Mark the Regan is with us on the live chat. He said, yes, it's a theater, spot on. Yeah, I agree with you. What do you guys think about what's going on in Minneapolis? We're keeping an eye on it. What I'm hoping is that Americans will tune this out and that Americans will remain peaceful. I'm actually very proud of the liberal Democrats who are standing up and speaking out and using their phones and their voices to document and to challenge, who are respectful and out there standing up for their fellow U.S. citizens who are being abused and harassed by these ICE agents. And the videos are kind of insane. I mean, they're trolling Walmart parking lots. They're trolling Target parking lots. They ripped a U.S. citizen out of his house in his bathrobe while his 6 or 7-year-old grandchild is screaming in terror. Turns out it was a false alarm. This guy was a U.S. citizen and you know, they let him go. But this is just insane. It's insane. And any sane, sober American who believes in the Constitution and our Bill of Rights would oppose the actions of ICE in Minnesota. There is a very calm and legal and non-hyperbolic or violent way to deport thousands or even millions of illegal immigrants in the United States of America. And it starts with taking away the benefits. People often ask me, well, what would you do, Shannon? Well, first and foremost, you cut off the welfare, you cut off the benefits, the free healthcare, the free food, the free housing. You give them all a good amount of notice. You send out a 30-day or 60-day notice and say you will be deported or your benefits will be turned off on this date. And then you incentivize them by, I don't know, maybe paying for their bus ticket or their plane ticket to send them home. Right. And that's the way I guarantee if you cut off the benefits, 80 to 85% of the illegal immigrants in the United States would self-deport within 90 days. I guarantee it. And if they had the political will and they actually had an agenda to deport illegal immigrants, that's what a sane and constitutional governing body would do. But of course, that's not the point. The illegal immigrants are here so that they can gin up fear and terror and justify the expansion of the military police state and the surveillance state. So they don't want the illegal immigrants to go home. They want them there so that they can justify these unconstitutional actions. And it just so happens that this is the Trump administration. As we know, during the Biden administration, they had all kinds of reasons and excuses, namely the COVID pandemic, to justify the expansion of the police surveillance state. They had the, January 6th and the insurrection on Capitol Hill as an excuse to deploy the military surveillance police state. So the Democrat administrations do this. The Republican administrations do this. They're no different. It is the uniparty. And this is why it's happening. So again, what we're hoping for here is peace. And we just hope that the good people of Minnesota, Minneapolis, Minnesota, I'm so sorry. It just so happens that your town is where they chose to conduct this theater. And so I hope they'll all stay safe and I hope they will stay peaceful. And, let Antifa come in, let the Black Panthers come in and let ICE come in and do their thing. But I think as Americans, we just need to step back and say, we are not going to fight each other. You are not going to get a civil war. And if enough Americans choose that path, then I think that maybe this PSYOP will fail. And I hope that it does, because as we see from this report in the 404 that we're going to go over with Patrick Wood a little later today on the program, they have now rolled out Elite, which is a Palantir product, and it's a specialized software tool that has been developed by Palantir for the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement to use, and it's designed to assist them in identifying and targeting neighborhoods for immigration enforcement today, operations including raids and detentions. But couldn't you see this type of technology being used? Say a Democrat president comes into office and we have another pandemic and they want to identify neighborhoods or individuals who haven't been vaccinated or who are posting or propagating misinformation about hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin or masking or forced vaccination, right? These tools can be used by either side. And as Americans, when we justify the unconstitutional use of surveillance techniques and tactics and mass surveillance products, we're only digging our own grave. We're helping them to create and construct an apparatus that can be turned on us at any moment in time for other political reasons. I don't know why this is such a hard concept for people to understand. It's just really interesting. But Annie, do we have the video of the little roly-poly fellow in Minnesota who is exercising his Second Amendment rights for the appropriate reasons? Or is that too glitchy? Are we not able to get it?
Oh, okay.
There we go. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, no, we can't get it. What is going on with the video? Anyway, let's go to the live chat. We are broadcasting live on Rumble. We're live on Twitter. Spreely TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, every podcast platform you can imagine. And of course, we are live on YouTube. We are live on Facebook. We are live on Substack. Welcome to all of our Substack followers and friends, those who are watching today. We appreciate all of you. Thank you for those of you on Substack who are subscribing to the Shannon Joy Show, and also those of you who have come on as paid subscribers. Really appreciate all of you, whether it's $2 a month, $8 a month, or more. It all matters, and I appreciate all of you. Matthew Fanning Big from YouTube. Great to see you on the SJ live chat. This is all designed to create chaos. It's hard to tell who isn't or is a government agent. Wouldn't you imagine that the Black Panthers or Antifa, organizations like those ones, pretty sketchy to begin with, wouldn't you imagine that they would have government agents potentially infiltrating those organizations that are, planted there to create chaos? Remember, the agenda is the expansion of power and control by those who run things in Washington, D.C. And a lot of it is to cover up the fact that our own government, Democrats and Republicans, have stolen from the American taxpayer nearly $55 trillion from the U.S. Treasury. Now, that was a bombshell that was released on the Shannon Joy Show last week by the amazing Catherine Austin Fitts. And very cool. One of those clips from Substack is going absolutely viral on Twitter right now. It's upwards towards 700,000 views. This is when Catherine Austin Fitts lays out exactly how that money was stolen. But this is now gaining traction on other news outlets, which I'm absolutely thrilled about. What do they want to cover up? The fact that our own government, Democrat and Republican, has stolen $55 trillion from the American people. We don't have a financial crisis, said Catherine Austin Fitts. We have a bank robbery, and she's absolutely right. And I'm so thrilled that so many regular Americans from both sides of the political aisle are beginning to understand this, right? What else are they trying to cover up? The Epstein files. This is now gaining more traction. Wonderful news polling out of the great state of Tennessee. Tom Massey, despite the PSYOP launched against him, the guy who's standing up for Epstein victims relentlessly and refuses to back down, he is now being threatened and attacked in his home state, over $1 million. But with Donald Trump, the entirety of the Republican Party and conservative media leveling against Tom Massey, well, recent polling has come out and he is doing just fine. In fact, it looks like he's going to sail to a victory if things continue on this trajectory, which is absolutely phenomenal news. This is evidence of Tom Massey breaking the algorithm by simply telling the truth, standing up for what is right, and refusing to back down no matter what threats they level against him. Joining up with people like Ro Khanna, a Democrat, oh my goodness, from California, to force this issue of the release of the Epstein files, which the federal government now they're obstructing justice in this issue, or on this issue. There was a tweet from Tom Massey yesterday. Again, what is the theme here? What are they trying to distract you away from by creating the theater in Minneapolis, Minnesota over immigration, pitting ICE agents against the Black Panthers and Antifa, with the poor people of Minnesota in the crosshairs? Okay, this is their town. And unfortunately, their town is the one that apparently our rulers in Washington, D.C. decided to make the theater. But what are they trying to distract us from? Well, the financial crisis that is coming, which is not really your fault or my fault. It's the fault of the federal government and this corrupted, decrepit uniparty who has fleeced the American people for the better part of 20 years. But also the Epstein files, which points to absolutely vile and horrifying evil perpetrated by some of the most powerful people on the face of this planet presidents of the United States of America and their associates, both political parties. And this is why Donald Trump, along with Pam Bondi, continue to obstruct justice and refuse to release these Epstein files. Tom Massey posted this out last night. Why is this administration working harder to hide the Epstein files than prior administrations did to cover up Iran-Contra and Watergate? Now, the context of this tweet, there is an ongoing and revisited controversy now over the DOJ's failure to comply with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. It was a bipartisan law passed by Congress in November of 2025. It was signed by President Trump against his will. The act mandated the release of all non-exempt Epstein-related files by December 19, 2025. So we are now a full 30 days past the deadline, well into January of 2026, with limited redactions for national security or privacy reasons. Trump had campaigned, and you guys know this, for the better part of 2 years on releasing the Epstein files and the Epstein victims and how bad Jeffrey Epstein was. He framed it as part of his pledge to drain the deep state and expose elite corruption. But as far as today, here we are, January 20th, 2026, and the DOJ, Pam Bondi, who works at the pleasure of Donald Trump, has released only a tiny fraction of these documents, approximately 12,285 items, about 125,000 pages, which represents less than 1% of the estimated 2 to 5.2 million potentially responsive files under review. Why is President Trump once again protecting pedophiles, child rapists, and pimps? When Mary and I came together trying to figure out, how we're going to do this show, they were there for us with sponsorship that helped us to put this together and get it on the air. So we are super, super thankful for them. And they have a great new product. I don't know if you guys have ever been struggling, or if you are struggling with mood swings, low energy, or hormonal imbalances. Venus and Mars are two great new products from the Wellness Company. They're doctor-formulated nutraceuticals designed to restore balance, energy, and vitality without synthetic hormones or stimulants. Ladies, Venus supports estrogen and progesterone balance. It eases PMS and cramping while also boosting your energy with clinically dosed ingredients like DIM, maca, Vitex, and broccoli sprouts. There is no fluff and no filler in this product. Now for the fellas, Mars has a product that naturally increases your testosterone, enhances circulation, and improves strength and focus with tongatali, tribulus, horny goat weed, and zinc. And every ingredient is present in a meaningful and safe dose. There are no gimmicks, just clean daily hormone support for both men and women. And I hear it also helps a little bit in the bedroom as well, but we won't go there. If you are a couple looking for a boost, Venus and Mars will have you feeling like you are on another planet. Head to twchealth.com/Mary and use the promo code MARY to get 10% off plus free shipping. That's twc.health/Mary and use the promo code MARY, MARY, to get 10% off plus free shipping. All right, everyone, we are back. So sorry for the slight interruption. It's so cold up here in New York State and Ohio that the show froze. Just kidding. Yes, I saw your comment, CJP Rumble. We just had a little bit of technical difficulty. Annie lost all of her power, but she got it back up. Opossum King, ICE deported the show. Why is it that every time we start to get into the nitty gritty of the Epstein files, the Epstein network, Jeffrey Epstein, his association, his long association with Donald Trump and his administration, that we have a show freeze? Well, Annie, being as brilliant as she is, was able to get us up very quickly. By the way, this is I saw on the live chat, I think everyone should consider looking into generators. We lost power at the Joy household about 3 weeks ago. Full power. We lost it for hours and hours, and we're very worried about, like, the food in the refrigerator going bad, and heating the house. It was getting really cold in the house. And that got me thinking, for all of my talk about preparation, and I talk a lot about preparation, we don't have a generator at the Joy household. So devastatingly handsome Dr. Joy and I are talking about getting a generator. And of course, we're going to go through the satellite phone store. So I don't know if you guys know this, not only does the satellite phone store carry, obviously, satellite phones, satellite phone plans and packages, a full line of Faraday equipment like Faraday bags. This protects your devices from an EMP attack. It also protects you from harmful EMF and also erases you from the grid. So if ICE is using Palantir technology to try to track your movements using your laptop or your cell phone, when you pop that baby in a Faraday bag from the satellite phone store, they call them dark bags, you are off the grid. So they have all of that great stuff. Of course, sat123.com is there, or sat123.com/joy is my page. But they also have a full line of generators. I mean, whole house generators, but also like little mini generators, solar panels, like everything that you need when the lights go out. So we're going to be talking about generators with Brett Miller, our spokesperson from the satellite phone store. He's an expert in preparation. We'll have him in next week. But I'm in the market for a generator. If you are in the market for a generator, make sure you head over to sat123.com/joy, because you get 10% off your entire order. And some of their generators, like the big ones, like that could equal, $500 or $600 for that discount. So sat123.com/joy. That is sat123.com/joy. All right, everyone. How are we looking on the live chat? Are we still glitching? Are you guys able to see the feed? And are we still freezing? Buskman, I just took a screenshot. Shannon looks so staunch on that freezer. Bring it on. So funny. Fearless Rose in USA. Appreciate you here on the live chat on the Shannon Joy Show. Bill Benz, I see you on the live chat. Great to see you here as well. We have Dino Fun joining us. Future Ez is joining us. And Annie is going to be checking on our audience on Substack and YouTube and Twitter so that we can say hello to all of you. In just about 15 minutes, we are going to be welcoming Patrick Wood. He is the founder and editor of technocracy.news, one of the foremost experts in the world on techno-fascism and the rise of the technocratic police surveillance state. This is what we're seeing on the streets of Minnesota with ICE agents using technology, facial recognition technology, and using that to round up some citizens and some non-citizens. And this is where we have to really make sure that we're standing up and saying, oh, hell no. Yesterday, we talked about the ballroom and what appears to be the construction of a massive underground data control center. The ballroom is just the facade, okay? It appears, covering up what is really going on down there. This is a big deal. This is a huge deal. And we're going to be talking with Patrick Wood about all of that. Ronald 1969. This is what I was getting to when the feed froze. It's very interesting. Why are they deploying color revolutions and psyops in the United States of America, focused specifically right now on Minneapolis, Minnesota? What are they trying to distract us from? Number one, they want to divide us left versus right. They want chaos and violence in the streets to justify the creation of the technocratic surveillance police state. But they also want to distract us from, as I mentioned, the $55 trillion that our government has stolen from the U.S. Treasury, from the U.S. taxpayer since 1998. That was detailed extensively in my interview with Catherine Austin Fitts last week, and it is now going viral on Twitter, upwards towards 700,000 views. That's number one. That is penetrating the mainstream of the United States of America. Thank you, Jesus. All right. The other thing I think that they really want to distract us from is the horrifying abuses that have been perpetrated on young children, tiny children, boys and girls, by the elite political class out of Washington, D.C., both left and right. And that brings me to this Substack that is highly disturbing. And the testimony of this man, Sasha Riley, reminds me of some of the testimony that we heard from people like Kathy O'Brien back in the days. I've been texting back and forth with one of, in my opinion, best resources in terms of the truth about the bipartisan, connections to the Epstein criminal cartel, both Democrats and Republicans, Nick Bryant. And he's one of the best sources out there because he is willing to scrutinize the left and also the right equally. He's written 2 books detailing abuses perpetrated against little children by people in positions of great power here in this country. And this Substack is entitled "Don't Worry, Boys Are Hard to Find," Part 1 of 2. It was compiled by Lisa Noel Volding, and it is an extensive interview, 6 audio interviews of a man named Sasha Riley, who details some of the most horrifying stories of sexual abuse that he experienced at the hands of Donald Trump, among others. Some of the names in this expose: Donald Trump, Jim Jordan, Andy Biggs, Clarence Thomas, Lindsey Graham. Now, I'm taking this with a grain of salt. This is it's a huge report. This is part 1 of the report. Part 2 reportedly maps all of the evidence. So this was his firsthand account, extensive account of what happened to him. This is part of Jeffrey Epstein's criminal cartel. I find it very interesting that the Republicans, in all of the reporting by Republicans and in conservative media over the past 5 years, really, has been about the abuse of young girls around the age of 15 or 14, right? Like they never go into, and then there've been a lot of reports that point to Jeffrey Epstein and his network abusing young boys as well, but you just don't see that being pushed out in Republican circles or on conservative media. And that's always stuck out to me as something that didn't quite make sense. Now, in this report, Lisa Noel Volding, this is clearly from a Democrat perspective. And so this is why I am taking this report with a grain of salt, and I'm waiting and watching the evidence. Nick Bryant said that, because I texted him, I said, what do you make of this? Do you think that these allegations are credible? They are incredibly detailed. And there are a lot of dates and times and names and locations, and it's very specific. And the author and the reporter, Lisa Noel Volding, says that, they have been able to take this audio testimony and corroborate it with extensive documentation, which has been compiled. She says that documentation is going to be released in the part 2. This will emphasize the victim accounts as primary. This will corroborate the victim's accounts, which is the primary evidence, and then hopefully open up new allegations. These tapes are highly disturbing, and we can go into a little bit of it. I think I'm going to wait. I've posted this report into the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show, and I would encourage those of you who are watching today to listen to at least the first tape. And and the subsequent. I'm going to be listening through to all of them as well. I'm very curious how you feel about them. If you think that they're credible, if you think it makes sense. Again, the one thing that is throwing up a red flag for me is the partisan nature of this. I don't know how anyone who reports on Epstein, the Epstein files, the Epstein cartel, the criminal cartel, cannot report on both Republicans and Democrats, and have evidence of both Republicans and Democrats. So, and this was one of my criticisms of right-wing news media. Remember, during Trump's first administration, there were years and years of conservatives like Sean Hannity, who lit his hair on fire every day on his radio show, talking about Lolita Express and Epstein Island and Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and Bill Richardson, among others. Alan Dershowitz, people who were identified by victims in their reporting, but they always omitted, there were so many connections between Epstein and Trump. You never heard about that from right-wing news media. So I'm skeptical of any news outlet that is going to report on one side but not the other. If you are an honest broker, if you are an actual reporter, and you are actually independent, and you actually care about victims, you would scrutinize both sides of the political aisle. And so this is what I'm looking for. Again, Fez Woody, anyone remember the Franklin sex scandal under Bush? I mentioned Kathy O'Brien's testimony, which is also horrifying. But the testimony of this man, Sasha Riley, sounds very much like the testimony of Kathy O'Brien. And she indicted heavily the Bush administration, heavily. And yes, and that was under Bush. Nothing was ever done about the Franklin sex scandal. And that involved Republicans. It was absolutely horrifying. And Nick Bryant wrote a book on the Franklin scandal. So Nick Bryant has gone after Democrats and Republicans. That's why he's my top source in all of this. You can find his website, follow him on Twitter. And maybe I should get, I think I should get Nick Bryant on the show next week to go over some of this, because we're getting into this here. It's astounding to me that right now CNN and MSNBC and Democrats have the moral high ground on what is happening with the release of the Epstein files, and Republicans are nowhere to be found. Isn't it amazing how people switch sides? Democrats didn't want to talk about what was going down when Biden was, with this, when Biden was in political office, and now they will. But this is, yes, Buskman, I will get him on. Fez Woody, who was Trump's best friend for 10 years. And I've done so many shows on this. I've done so many, we could go back and recount the long history. I did my deep dive on Donald Trump the day he came down. It was weeks after he came down the escalator. It was so easy. It was so easy from day one to pin Donald Trump as a predator, and definitely not a conservative Christian Republican. Okay. Clearly a lifelong New York City Democrat. And this is why now I am in the camp of believing that Donald Trump is probably the most powerful psyop ever deployed on the American people. Yeah, really horrifying. Really, really horrifying stuff. Terrible. And meanwhile, but then you have to wonder, if Trump doesn't have anything to hide, why is he doing everything he possibly can to suppress the release of the Epstein documents? Again, 5.2 million documents. They've released a little over 100,000, representing less than 1%. And they are firmly, they are in complete, they are absolutely obstructing justice at this point, because that's a piece of legislation that was passed and signed by the President of the United States of America. So there is more happening there with that. We're going to keep an eye on that for sure. But I would encourage you guys, because people need to understand. I had girlfriends texting me last night. They had clearly this Sasha Riley interview is gaining a lot of steam. And I had some of my liberal girlfriends who wouldn't even talk about these type of things. I mean, every time I talked about Epstein and the Clintons or, what's going on in Washington, D.C., they wouldn't believe me. And now, again, it's just a strange time. Now all of a sudden they're being exposed to it. But this interaction between Scott Jennings, I mean, if the Republicans think that they are going to, you look at the polling for Tom Massey in Tennessee, the PSYOP is not working. He is gaining in popularity, bipartisan popularity. A recent Gallup poll has now shown that younger generations, so Gen Z and millennials, are now firmly in the independent camp. They are full scale rejecting both the left and the right. I think that both the left and the right covering up for the Epstein cartel has a lot to do with that. And then you also look at the fact that people do not want to let go of this issue of the Epstein files and what went down with the Epstein files. I think that this is proving that this is not going to be a winning issue for Republicans, right? And they look terrible. There was a video making its way across Twitter. And again, don't blame the messenger. It is not my fault that liberal Democrats and CNN have the moral high ground on the release of the Epstein documents. Okay, that's not my fault. People get mad at me for pointing this out. But when you see this interaction between Scott Jennings, who is a mouthpiece for the Trump administration, by the way, he was a mouthpiece for the Bush administration. I mean, he's a lifelong rhino, neocon, war hawk. He worked for George W. Bush, served in his White House as a special assistant. He worked for Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell from 2002 until 2014, okay, until he switched and became an advocate for Donald Trump. And he's been pimping Donald Trump now for the better part of the past at least 5 years. So he's a regular on CNN. And he had an interaction with a podcaster. I don't even know who this woman is. But, it was just so interesting to me that the liberal Democrats, I think she's probably left-leaning, maybe a little bit. She calls herself an independent. So I'll check her out. I don't know. Again, I don't know who she is. Maybe someone can help me out with her. But this was the interaction between her and Scott Jennings. And his face, like the way he's so dismissive about the victims of Epstein's cartel. He's so dismissive about what amounts to, a cabal that is systematically raping and abusing children. Okay. And it's just disgusting. But we have to go to CNN to find the truth, which is, mind blowing. But Annie, pull up this video because, this is what's happening out in the real world. If you're not, completely plugged into only right-wing media all the time, you won't see things like this. But go ahead and play this interaction. I think that this woman was spot on, and I applaud her for what she said at the end. Go ahead.
They should follow the law, but let's not get our knickers in a twist here. There's no
let's not get our knickers in a twist over child rape. Why are you talking like that? It's insane. It's insane. The Epstein files is a multinational, multi-generational child and woman sex trafficking ring. So your attitude right now, you're sort of like, well, shucks, devil begun, is just horrifying to me. Every woman in the world that is watching this, why are you acting like you have no idea what's happening here? Scott,
He asked me a question about following the law.
And what
I
I'm
said they should follow the law.
is your attitude. Yeah, and they're not following the law. They're 30 days late on following law, and they didn't explain why they redacted the first things in the first place, which they were also supposed to do.
I know.
Listen,
you
at
have
this
a strong
point,
opinion about it, and
I have a strong opinion about it because it is a disgusting policy that they are doing this. They are hiding it. It is not the behavior of innocent people, and everything that is in these files it could bring an entire house down. And if it has to, it has to. If it brings down Democrats, bring them down. If it brings down Republicans, bring them down. If it brings down princes, world leaders, Hollywood people, bring them down. But what it feels like right now is that there's a giant cabal of people that do not have to listen to the law, do not have to oppose the law, and they were supposed to do something, then they didn't do something, and now they're trying to have a new law that says we don't even have to do it.
And what's really
That was Lee McGowan, a podcaster. And I don't know, guys, I completely agree with her. And I'm glad that she identified the smirk and the look on his, don't get your knickers in a bunch over the fact that, like, he is so pompous. He is, it's disgusting, absolutely disgusting. I think her response to him was perfect. We should be outraged that people in proximity to such vast power who have the audacity to go on a panel on CNN and make light of what has happened to hundreds, if not thousands, of children in this country, and has been happening to children for the better part of 2 decades or more, is outrageous. It's outrageous. I think her demeanor was spot on. I think her outrage was spot on. How dare he sit there and make fun of it? And the way he's like, what's your, like, it just the body language there shows you how horrifying these people are. He has not lost a moment of sleep over the fact that little boys and little girls have been raped and abused by some of the most powerful people in the United States of America. And God bless her for saying, if it brings down Republicans, it brings down Republicans. If it brings down Democrats, it brings down Democrats. If it brings down princes, it brings, like, that is the right position. I applaud her. I don't know her politics. Does it matter at this point? You know, and I know, you know, I see you when I pull up a clip from CNN. Well, you can't listen to CNN, Shannon, because there are only half truths on CNN. Well, apparently you can't get any truth from partisan media when their guy is in political office. So you got to go to the opposition media in order to get a little bit of truth. It's a very sad state of affairs, a very sad state of affairs in the country, where even our media is so polarized that you can't get the full truth. Right there on CNN, thanks to that woman, God bless her, Lee McGowan, we saw some hardcore truth. And we saw that asshat Scott Jennings exposed for the smug, decrepit worm that he is. Good for you, Lee. Good for you. Mark the Regan, better late than never. Right now, CNN has a poll, this is from mid-January, that found only 6% of Americans are satisfied with the releases. 2/3 of Americans, bipartisan, believe the government is intentionally withholding information. And the skepticism crosses party lines. It's slightly stronger with Democrats right now, but it is across the board. Let's keep going, guys. We have to keep going. These documents have to be released, and we have to press for the truth regarding the Epstein scandal. And I think, you know, these testimonies, again, Lisa Noel Volding, her Substack featuring the 6 audio tapes with Sasha Riley, who, by the way, was a decorated Iraq war veteran. And his account essentially, and I've linked this in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. He claims he was adopted in 1977 by a pilot named William Kyle Riley. And that pilot was a trafficker, a child sex trafficker, tied to what he calls the Trump Epstein ring and also the Dixie Mafia. And according to Riley's testimony, as summarized and presented in the Substack pushed out by Lisa Noel Volding, he was trafficked and abused from around the ages of 9 to 13 years. He was featured in child pornography videos and also snuff films. Horrifying. That was following an early family that had trafficked him from the age of 6 years old. He was forced into child sexual abuse material production and including extreme acts in at least one snuff film, which is where a murder takes place. It's horrifying, horrifying, horrifying. I don't do a lot on these things, but after going through this Substack and listening to much of the first hour of his testimony, I think this is important. And I think that this testimony needs to be taken seriously. And if they can come up with corroborating evidence, which they say that they can, then he needs to testify in front of Congress. And so we're going to keep an eye on this. Again, don't worry, boys are hard to find, part 1 of 2. The Trump, Epstein, and Associated Criminal Enterprises, the victim interview of Sasha Riley by Lisa Noel Volding is linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. I would love to hear from all of you about what you think of this very, very disturbing report. All right, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to bring in the Patrick Wood. He is the founder and editor of technocracy.news. It is your source, the source for everything you need to know about the expansion of the technocratic police surveillance state. Everything we see happening in Minneapolis, Minnesota is happening with one goal in mind, well, multiple goals in mind, but one of them is to justify the expansion of the police surveillance state using the technocracy and technology that is designed for mass surveillance of every American. No one understands this better than Patrick Wood. We're going to bring him into the Joy Virtual Studio in just a moment for an update on where we are and what we need to do to resist the expansion. We'll be back in a moment right here on the Shannon Joy Show. I am so proud to be working with Peter Schiff and Schiff Gold in 2026. There is no one that I would trust more to send this audience to in terms of a metals strategy, whether it's your gold and silver physically that you purchase and keep in your home or in a safety deposit box, gold and silver in an IRA, which you can do through Schiff Gold, or even investing in gold mining stocks, which Peter Schiff and his team can also help you with. It is time to get that metals strategy in place. Right now, silver and gold are soaring. Silver is approaching $85 an ounce, while gold is up over $45 an ounce. And people don't see this stopping anytime soon. I know it seems expensive to you, but I don't know that there is a cap to this in the near future. So you can get started now. I want to encourage you guys right now to go to schiffgold.com/joy. That is schiffgold.com/joy. Everything that you need, Peter's analysis, market reports, research reports. You can get plugged into his investment services, physical gold and silver, which we're going to be talking about this month, and also protecting your retirement with a gold or silver IRA. It's all right there at your fingertips on my page, schiffgold.com/joy, at 123.com/joy. Everything that you're going to need for preparation: generators, solar panels, Faraday products. If you want to disappear and protect yourself from the surveillance state, they have an entire line of amazing Faraday products called dark bags. They're always 10% off at the satellite phone store if you go to sat123.com/joy. That is sat123.com/joy. The satellite phone store has supported the Shannon Joy Show for many years. They are amazing partners, and let's help the companies that help keep the lights on here at the Shannon Joy Show. So if you are in the market for any of their products or services, make sure you use that promo code JOY and go to sat123.com/joy. That's sat123.com/joy. Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show. If you're watching live right now on Rumble or Twitter, Substack, Facebook, YouTube, and you're enjoying the show, you like the independent spin here on the SJ Show, not left, not right, just the truth, straight up, no chaser, please consider giving this show a thumbs up or a like or a comment. Please join us on the live chats. I love to hear from all of you. JRC99 over on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us today. There are things that I agree with that people think I'm MAGA. However, these recent news stories are perfectly covering up Trump's connection to Epstein. I do not disagree. I think that a lot of this is designed to cover up the theft that has been perpetrated by the United States government, both political parties, against the taxpayers, and also the just absolutely grotesque bipartisan connection to the Epstein cartel. I think those are the two big stories that they do not want us to pay attention to, and so they throw all of this at us. But that doesn't mean that they aren't also creating and expanding the technocratic police state and techno-fascism in general. We're seeing that happen in Minneapolis. And we have, of course, one of my absolute favorite guests on the SJ show today, Patrick Wood, is the world's foremost expert on techno-fascism and the technocracy. He is the founder and the editor of technocracy.news, where you will get some of the best information on the expansion of the technocratic police state. You can also follow him on Twitter. His handle is @StopTechnocracy. Patrick Wood, welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. How are you doing today?
Just fine, thank you. This has been a great day so far, but the World Economic Forum is meeting right now. So I get to watch videos coming out of there. Just make your head spin for sure. And President Trump is speaking tomorrow. He's going to turn the world upside down.
Oh, my word.
Pretty sure.
What is your, let's get right into the analysis. World Economic Forum was one of the organizations. They're meeting at Davos. They were some of the biggest villains in the world when it came to the conservative right and the medical freedom movement. They were behind a lot of the atrocities that we saw in the rollout of the PSYOP that was the COVID pandemic, forced masking, social distancing, and of course, Operation Warp Speed and the rollout of the poison shots. And so they had their fingers in all of that, in addition to expanding the surveillance state. So it's interesting that Donald Trump is bringing the largest delegation ever in U.S. history to Davos, Switzerland, to speak at the World Economic Forum. Give me your thoughts on why he's there, what you think the agenda is, and what you think is going to go down, and how that's going to impact we the people here in the United States.
A lot of people are saying, analysts are saying that the WEF is basically over. I don't buy that for a number of reasons, but some people are saying that the nature has changed of the congregation. Go figure. But at this point, they're all the things they're talking about, AI, business development, it's a business club, basically. And however, all of the important delegations from countries are there as well. So this is kind of a mini United Nations in a sense, where you have all these nations together in one place. President Trump is going to be speaking tomorrow, and I'm sure he's going to turn the world upside down. One or two things that they're worried about at this point, all the people at the World Economic Forum. Oh, by the way, if I didn't say this before, Larry Fink is now the co-head of the World Economic Forum. That's the Larry Fink, right? From BlackRock, member of the Trilateral Commission as well. So those who say, well, that's over, don't pay any attention, you better pay attention.
Well, and Larry Fink is one of the close personal advisors, longtime close personal advisors of Donald Trump. I mean, they've been working together for decades. And, you know, I don't know if he's part of the administration or currently, or if he's just always there. But I mean, you can't separate. You can't separate the two.
He's like that always on light bulb.
Right. Absolutely.
Exactly. So what we can expect tomorrow from President Trump are two things. One, he's going to announce the Pax Silica declaration that was just released by a news story from the State Department. This is a new initiative where they're going around and signing up countries to be part of the AI consortium, if you will, of the United States. This was set up in the first place by the AI action plan that was established back in July of 25.
Yep.
Where they said in Pillar 3 of that document that was posted on whitehouse.gov, they said they're going to export the full technology stack to the world, to anyone who wants it, our allies, in other words. Well, this is now this concept of Pax Silica. This is the mechanism that they've put up to induct countries into our orbit, if you will.
Got it.
So they want to control the technology. They want to make sure people use it the way we say they should use it. And however, they're going to spread it to these nations. Japan's one early signer, South Korea, no countries from Europe yet. But however, Qatar has just signed on.
Wow. Wow.
and the UAE has just signed on as well.
Okay.
So you see, this is the equivalent of colonization.
Yeah.
We used to think colonization was usually a military affair,
Right. Right.
where you could just take people's nation and say you're with us now. This is a colonization of another sort. It's more pervasive and more locked in than anything else in history, because when a country takes on our AI, it's going to change the nature of the country.
Right.
It's going to it will condition the whole country to be in the mind space, if you will, of the United States.
Sure.
This is what colonization was all about in the first place, to change the nature of the country, make it subservient to the conquering nation, if you will.
Right. Right.
Well, Trump is on this tear at this point to do this, and you'll see, I think Israel's also signed on. You're going to see all these countries as exhibiting, well, let's say, a common front far as AI is concerned.
Right.
And it will change the nature of their government, for instance. It'll change the nature of their people. It'll dumb their people down to where the point they won't be able to think critically.
Right.
Like in our country.
Yeah, and it can also, I mean, the exportation of a full tech stack. So this could also draw them in to new digital ID programs or new digital currencies. It could link them to, I mean, and you can see this administration absolutely desperate to draw people's attention away from the collapsing dollar, the economic crisis that is coming now. And so they desperately need some new type of currency or mechanism. This is why the digital currency is so important to them right now. What they're doing with Bitcoin and what they're doing with, tokenization and stable coins, working with the banks, like they need, things are rapidly deteriorating in the US economy. And so there's almost a rush to kind of get this new currency in place. If they can get enough European countries and enough other countries to buy into the tech stack, and that's basically just it's the infrastructure of how all the technology works, essentially, and it relies on AI, then they can dominate that sphere. Now, Patrick, they're not going, you don't anticipate that the BRICS countries are going to buy into this. They're not going to get India, China, Russia, or any of those countries to buy into this, do you think? I mean, where are we setting? I mean, is this yet another step towards a global conflict or a regional conflict between, these different entities?
When any European country buys into this Pax Silica, as a declaration, as they call it,
okay,
that will be the split apart of Europe.
Okay.
When a BRICS nation, I don't know what nation would be, certainly not China, maybe Brazil could be convinced, maybe South Africa be convinced. If any country joins from BRICS is over.
Right. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen.
It might not, But I'm just saying, you know that they're going to be pursuing some of the BRICS nations to join with us in this Pax Silica. My guess is some nations may misunderstand the intent of this in the first place.
Right.
So, they think, oh, this is great. We get all this technology for free, basically, and all of it is signed right here.
Yeah. Well, and then the technology has to work, Patrick. And these fellas tend to be bumbling, fumbling fools in a lot of ways. And, the technology is there, kind of, but not really. And as more and more Americans and humans across the globe begin to see how creepy the technocrats and the robots and the AI actually is, as we move towards more human things, this idea that these grand plans can be achieved, I think, begins to help you understand they're powerful, but there's a lot that we can do to push back against it. So Pax Silica is one thing we want to look for. What was the second thing? You said there are going to be two major thrusts here in this administration.
The quest for Greenland. For sure.
Okay. Okay. Tell me. Talk to me.
This is going to come in the discussion on national security. They're going to bring Trump's going to bring it up. At this point, some members of NATO are saying we need to attack the United States. This is what we're a member, of course. Well, if they kick us out of NATO, NATO is over.
Right.
NATO can't survive without us, especially with all their DEI nonsense going on all over Europe. And there's no way that they could survive financially or morally at that point.
But hold on, though, Patrick. Because see, over all of this, again, we'll go back to BRICS, is the pressure that they're putting on the U.S. dollar and the position in the United States as the world reserve currency, right? So yeah, we can prop up NATO with our inflated dollars because we print $1 trillion a day in this country, and basically defraud all of our partners, all of our international partners. And I would say it's not just the BRICS countries at this point that are like looking at the U.S. and saying, "What the hell are you doing?" So I guess you're right in a sense. NATO would fall apart because everything would fall apart. If the dollar ceases to be the world reserve currency, it's the entire checkerboard is tossed. I don't even know what to. I mean,
I know.
Go ahead.
2026 is going to be the year of change.
I know.
That's obvious at this point.
Buckle up. Right.
Buckle up. So the thing with Denmark, they want to hold on to Greenland. Mm-hmm. They can't stand up to any military force from the United States for sure.
Right.
And the native population wants in Greenland, they want to go with the United States.
Okay.
But the immigrants from Denmark and other countries and maybe in Europe, they want to stay with Europe. This sets up a big conflict for sure with Denmark as well as Europe. However, Trump has said consistently, even from his first administration, that Greenland should be in the North American Technate. Well, in the North American Union, if you will. So Greenland is under attack, or whatever you want to call it, to be acquired by the United States. Maybe they just pay him money for it or something.
Let's print some more dollars and buy
exactly.
Greenland.
So he's already said he wants Canada in the fold, and he's intimated he wants Mexico in the fold, and also now you have Venezuela and Colombia on the target. This completes the whole map of the United States of North America, whatever.
Right. It would be the region, the super region, right?
The super region.
Yeah.
Well, this would be such a huge development for the United States in Trump's mind. I'm sure BRICS wouldn't have a chance at that point. Even China might not have a chance to be, disputing with us. So this is going to be a big thing at the summit. I think when he talks tomorrow. So there's two things in play. The AI take over the colonization of the world, and then this creation of a North American technate that was modeled after technocracy in the first place. That map showed up in 1934, by the way.
Right.
That we've had on your show before.
Yeah.
And this is the map when the mainstream media picked up off the internet, not having a clue where that map comes from in the first place. And they said, "Oh, this is Trump. What's Trump? He's taken over Venezuela and Greenland at the same time. Ooh, look at this pretty map."
Right. Well, let's go back and remind the audience about the 1930s and technocracy. Elon Musk's grandpop, who started, who was in the club for technocracy, and how it has emerged in the 21st century as what appears to be the dominant political ideology of the ruling class, not just among BRICS nations, but also here in the United States of America. I liken it to the revenge of the nerds, Patrick, where somehow these guys, the tech bros, PayPal mafia, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, some of the other, big names in technocracy, or what I would call techno-fascism, have come to infiltrate government systems. And I think they got in, Patrick, through delivering elections using social media credit scoring and social media profiling. I think we saw with Barack Obama and then with Donald Trump, those were the two first US candidates that really deployed like Cambridge Analytica and companies that were able to go in to social media and build very, very detailed profiles of every user, and then use those profiles, your information, against you, right? To craft political messages that would align with exactly what you're thinking and feeling. It was quite brilliant. Also, the use of bots and trolls and psychological operation on social media to make people think that certain candidates were more popular and powerful than they actually were. I think this was the beginning of it. And then once the politicians realized that they needed the technocrats in order to deliver elections, then it became this unholy alliance. And now it seems as if the technocrats have just full scale taken over. And it is an ideology. So you are the best at explaining what the ideology of the techno-fascist is and why it's so dangerous. I've said often to my audience, this is the most demonic, evil, wicked, terrifying ideology I have ever covered or studied in my life. And I've been doing the show for 12 years, but I've been a student of history my entire life. It's worse than all of the isms. Communism, socialism, totalitarianism, you name it. Technocracy is the worst. That's why I label them techno-fascists, because it's even worse than fascism. But if you can help the audience understand the bigger picture, Patrick, that would be great.
The definition of technocracy is just as valid today as it was in 1934. Yeah. And I'm going to read it to you. This is off their magazine that called The Technocrat in 1937. This is exact quote. Technocracy is the science of social engineering. That's what they led off with. You see, social engineering is everywhere today.
Yeah.
Everything we talk about outside of politics and economics, it's all about social engineering.
Yeah.
Totally. So they led off with that. There's a reason for it. I'll talk about later perhaps, but then it goes on. The scientific operation of the entire social mechanism to produce and distribute goods and services to the entire population. For the first time in human history, it will be done as a scientific, technical, engineering problem. Then it goes on, there will be no place for politics, politicians, finance, or financiers. Technocracy will distribute by means of certificate of distribution available to every citizen from birth to death. What's this business? And what's this business? There will be no place for politics? Really? That's what they said. They wanted to get rid of all the politicians in 1934 or 33 when FDR came in. They called on FDR to declare himself dictator and simply dismiss Congress.
Well, but you could see, Patrick, how this mindset now, I mean, everyone hates politicians today. Like you're seeing more and more Americans identify as independent. They are fed up with the craziness in every sense. And so you could see how they could slide right in and say, okay, we don't need to deal with no one likes politicians. let's be honest, right? Yeah. So you could see how this message would be titillating to those who are sick of the politics of the day.
Yes, and you see this, there's signs of this happening with the younger generation, especially Gen Zs and so on. You can see they're switching away from politics to want to talk about technocracy. Nevertheless, the concept of cradle to grave maintenance of the human condition, this is just crazy, absolutely crazy. Get your hands off of us, just forget it. You don't need to control everything in the universe here. But when you consider the science of social engineering in the first place, what does this mean? All of the stuff we've seen over the decades, decade by decade, going back, for instance, to Tavistock Institute and all the social brainwashing stuff that the CIA wanted to apply to humans. This crazy stuff. But we see today they've refined and they've recast social engineering, not just as almost just a regular science, but even an occult science at this point. So the takeover of the human mind is very much in their mind to make us think what they want us to think. In other words, they don't want to tell you what to say. You could say it, but you don't believe it, right?
Right.
That's not enough for them anymore. They want to change your brain, the way you process thoughts, to make you come up with the same thoughts that they come up with.
It's absolutely terrifying.
It really is.
And they use manipulative tactics and techniques. How do they do it? How do they change people's brains and their minds and how they think?
There's so many ways today. We've been talking, or I've been writing about this concept of mapping the human brain that Obama came up with. He called I think the project was called BRAIN. That's an acronym, but it's basically it's mapping the human brain. He said we have to map the human brain like we mapped the human genome in the 90s. He said this is a bigger deal than that. We have to map the human brain to figure out how it works.
Wow.
How to get inside of it.
Right.
And this has spun off a plethora of techniques and scientific discoveries exactly to do that.
Right.
So all of these scientists who've dedicated themselves to studying our brains over the last 15 years, their sole purpose is to crack the nut, if you will, of your skull.
Right.
And Elon Musk has Neuralink, but that's old school at this point. That's the old way of just inserting wires into your brain. Now they have wireless technology that can do this so much more efficiently.
Well, they'd like us to think that they have their wireless. I mean, again, I go back to Revenge of the Nerds, and some of the technology is pretty cool, but I mean, the only company that ever even remotely became profitable putting robots in our homes was Roomba. That's a little vacuum cleaner that rolled around your floor. It just went
bankrupt, by the way.
It just went bankrupt. Okay. So So there's certainly human pushback, and it's really interesting. I mean, we've rejected the AI, we've rejected the virtual reality. I mean, I know people thought that everyone's going to be wearing virtual reality machines all day, every day, and removing themselves from life. None of these things have worked out. None of them are profitable. None of them. And I don't even think the technology is that great, but I think what they are now doing is they're partnering with governments to use the technology to enslave people, right? Because we don't want it. The market is rejecting it. We don't want their Roombas. We don't want their robots. We don't want their AI for the most part, unless we're using it for our benefit as humans. We don't want to be surveilled. And quite frankly, we don't want to be on our screens all day. I mean, people want to live in nature and do natural things. So from my perspective, now it's the AI bubble's about to burst. We're about to realize the reality of mass surveillance with the data centers, the water, the electricity, how dystopian that future is. Like, humanity is waking up to this. And so I think they're trying to put in these control mechanisms as fast as they can, and move us all onto the grid. And what they need, obviously, the digital ID and then the digital currency. Like, those are the ways they can try to get us to plug into everything. But I think there's a real chance that, we the people and humans can fight back by simply, rejecting the technology and not playing ball, so to speak. And we're also seeing, I mean, in Minnesota, Patrick, they're using that facial recognition technology from Palantir. That is, I mentioned it earlier in the show. It's elite. It's a special software tool. And so this is why, people should stop getting their face screened at the airport and stop doing those airports. Don't get the digital ID, because then they can use it, to compile all this information. And then yesterday, Patrick, on my show, we talked about what appears to be a massive central database being built underneath the ballroom that Trump announced. It's being sponsored by all these big technocrats. So they're definitely trying to fast track these data centers, fast track the technologies, get everything in place as fast as they can, so that when things come crumbling down, there's nowhere for us to kind of escape to. Do you see it that way? What are your thoughts on what's going on in Minnesota and the ballroom? And then, how do we resist it all? How do we fight back and take our country, our civil rights, our natural rights, back from these lunatics who want to essentially own everthing, including the human body?
There's two parts of the AI experience. One is the type that we deal with. You do a search on Perplexity or ChatGPT or whatever to find some information, and maybe you get sucked into a conversation about morality or religion or something because of the AI in the first place, and maybe you get hooked even on it. But there's chat bots, there's companion apps now, and so that's one flavor. The consumer side, the consumer facing side of AI. That's one thing. We can, in fact, if we all rejected that en masse right now, that wouldn't put them out of business, because the whole purpose of their incursion in this thing is to trap society into a system that you can't get rid of.
Right.
And when I say the system, these data centers all over the country and all over the world now, Saudi Arabia is going to be building them, the UAE is going to be building them, Qatar is going to be building them. All these data centers, they're not going to service you and me to get information from the internet. Give me a break. There's no, that's crazy. All these massive data centers they're designed as a control system to take all of the underlying data in our country about everything, for instance, all financial transactions, the blockchain transactions, the Internet of Things transactions, the Internet of Bodies, the Internet of Everything, all all the self-driving cars, you name it. All that stuff has to be somewhere processed by AI.
Right.
You'll never see that side of the system. You'll never see that in your life. But what's happening now, by our government, for instance, being taken over by AI at this point, at some point, AI is going to be making most of the decisions for us here out in the hinterland. And these data centers are key to that happening. For instance, all of the financial records in Wall Street, the banks, every card that gets scanned, every online transaction, all this stuff is subject to being sucked into AI in these massive data centers to get a handle on you and everybody else like you and the whole world. So this is where they're headed with this. This is why they want to get as many data centers as possible to crunch data on society.
So how do we resist it? Because I'm not okay with that, Patrick. So not cool. I don't want it.
Yeah.
I don't want the data center in my backyard. And I think that is key. There's been a ton of pushback. In fact, they've been able to push out data centers in small towns and villages across the United States of America. I've been limiting a lot of my interaction with screens and my usage of AI. I use it a little bit as a search engine, but other than that, it's pretty crappy. I'm going to be honest. And we're seeing a lot of copyright lawsuits. A lot of people, I mean, AI is sucking up your name, image, and likeness and using it against the law. And so we're seeing there's a great court decision on this just a couple months ago where it was ruled by a judge that these AI companies can't just suck information up off the internet and use it. People have proprietary rights to their thoughts, their feelings, the things that they put out, their writings, and also our images. So this is all in flux. And I liken this to what we saw with COVID. It's not like everyone needed to reject the shot, right? We knew that a large majority of Americans tragically would inject themselves with the poison, right? But we just needed enough Americans to absolutely say, oh, hell no. And they became the control group. Without the control group, without that one group sitting there, I mean, all the information now coming out about the shots makes that control group even more important. So what can people do to continue to fight back against this from your perspective at, the individual level and local level? You mentioned, not signing on to a lot of the consumer stuff, but what can we do politically and civically in our own communities to fight back against this?
Number one, there's a war against free speech rising up again.
Yeah.
On the whole world.
Yeah.
This is going to be it'll make the COVID experience seem like a cakewalk. What's coming in this 2026, I think, is going to be huge. This means if you're going to educate your city council, your state legislators, et cetera, about AI and what you want to do with it, you have to express yourself now, because when the AI tech bros decide that's game over for free speech, whatever narrative they set, if you buck it, you know what's going to happen to you at that point. You come across as a Luddite. They'll figure out ways to smear you, and make you out to be a conspiracy theorist or something.
And you know it, Patrick. This is not our first rodeo, though. We've been here before. They like to scare us with, oh, we're going to shut you down. And sometimes they can be a little bit scary, but I agree with you. Like you definitely need to speak up. I'm hoping that other platforms pop up and there are other, opportunities to use technology for good against these guys. Crossing my fingers, but keep going. Sorry. So that's it.
Could. No, people have great creative ideas. They should express themselves, and maybe their ideas, a crappy one, but that's okay. You have to try, right? Because
sure.
I wouldn't say anybody's idea is wrong here. If anybody wants to fight against AI or take over, et cetera, if they have an idea to do it, go invent something,
right,
or crafts of application or something
Yeah.
to see if you can stop it. Maybe 1 in 100 will, hit, but that's okay. This is the backbone of American ingenuity, if you will.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and I think that, just getting back, I see here on LT Oracle of Truth, go back to newsletters. I love newsletters. I like a physical paper. Whitney Webb and her team over at Unlimited Hangout, I believe, are doing physical format media moving forward. That's part of one of their initiatives for 2026. I can see Americans getting into the tactile, wanting to go back to physical form things, primarily because we're going to have a hard time knowing what is real and what isn't real with AI and digital technology. And I think that's something that the planners and the technocrats did not prepare for, that they did not, people will get so fed up with everything they see on the digital screen and the digital form that they'll just say, I'm not going to believe anything. I'm getting back into my community. I'm hanging out with my neighbor. Throw me a little newsletter or a flyer. Like, this is getting ridiculous. And I can see that happening. I can certainly see the culture reacting in a way that is contrary.
Let me just encourage people. If you have the ability, be a citizen journalist. We need, there's no reason that there couldn't be people in every community in our country. You remember the day when every community had its own newspaper?
I do.
They don't. Where they all go?
Yeah,
they're gone. They're all gone at this point. What's wrong with people? You restart your community newspaper. Get a micro transmitter station. There's no license required for that.
Love that.
Broadcast. Get your microphone like Shannon has here and broadcast your thoughts, I guess, across your 6 city blocks, and put out a newsletter. Have meetings and whatever. Just have a picnic on a nice day. Talk about stuff. What a novel idea.
Oh, I see it going there, Patrick. I talk to so many people, normies. These are normies. They don't even pay attention to politics. They're, Democrat, Republican, whatever. And they're just like, what is happening to our world? It's all going crazy. I just want to go out in the sunshine, hang out with my neighbors, have a pop, have a beer. You know what I mean? Like, it does not matter. Technology comes and goes. It's been coming and going for 5,000 years of human history. Humanity is always the same, right? Like, we've done this for quite some time. You're born, you grow up, you have parties, you fall in love, you get married, you have children, plant gardens, build houses, do the things. Like, this is not complicated, everyone. So it's going to get bumpy, but I think as humans, we need to put technology in its place. And that's what we're going to see moving forward.
I have a new book.
Okay.
I have to show this to you because we talk about Elon Musk's grandfather.
Oh,
this is a grandfather, Dr. Joshua Haldeman.
Wow.
This is him.
Okay.
And this is an essay or a collection of, this is backwards. That's
okay. It's like, what is it? Mine Grandpa? Is it Grandpa?
Yeah, mine Grandpa. And there, you can see the map. You can see the map of the North American Technate.
That's right.
Look to the south, Venezuela, right down at the bottom. And where's Greenland at the top?
That's wild.
Oh, yeah. Well, the map is filling out now. So this was a selection of writings that somebody did, just raw writings of Haldeman.
Okay.
From the 1930s and 40s. This guy was unplugged. I'll tell you what, he's an absolutely crazy
guy. And that was
guy.
Elon Musk's grandfather.
Yes.
Who was a techno-fascist, a hardcore techno-fascist.
He was in charge of the technocracy movement in Canada. It was big in Canada.
Well, and those technates, you talk about the technates. I mean, that was their vision, to carve up the world. Very similar to 1984, George Orwell. You had Eurasia and Oceania and all of the different regions. And they were always warring, like they were conditioning people's minds to think that we were always at war. So you were always unsettled. And, you know, at the very end, of course, 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4, it equals 5. You know, that's the controlled thinking. So this is all playing into, and you know, these guys, these nerds have taken over our politicians, and we've got to fight back against them. Patrick Wood, I appreciate you for all of the work that you have done in educating people. That book looks amazing. Please send it to me. I want to read it and tell my audience all about it. And of course, please support technocracy.news. That is Patrick Wood's publication. He puts out some of the best information on what these nerds are up to every day. It's quite dystopian, and we need to stop them. Please also follow him on the Twitter. His handle is @Stop Technocracy. Anything else you would like to say to the audience before I let you go, Patrick?
Probably not. But if you can't read, or you won't read, or you won't consume audio content, for instance, the audiobook is available on Amazon. Okay. If you just flat don't want to hear it, that's fine. Right. But it's gonna tag you at some point in the future. So you know, you just still be prepared for what's coming.
Oh, everyone's going to be impacted by this.
Oh, yes.
No one thinks that surveillance is going to get them until they're gotten. And then, that's right. And then they're like, oh, shucks. Like all of the, you know, those U.S. citizens whose faces have been scanned, and they're like, I'm not doing anything wrong. Why don't I get my face biometrically scanned at the airport, right? I don't have anything to hide. How often have you heard that? Well, good luck, people, because once they have all of your information, they can and they will use it against you. And when they have all that information, you're not going to have anything to do. So it's good to understand these things early. Patrick Wood, thank you so much for being with us today. Appreciate you.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
All right. Come back again real soon. Okay. And thank you all for being with me today on the SJ Show. Opossum King, I see you. Poor Welsh Farmer, I see you on the live chat as well. I agree with Shannon that digital technology is simply not robust enough to take control of our lives, and it never will be. I don't think it will either, but they can hurt and harm an awful lot of people in their pursuit of this technocratic power. See, that's the problem. They didn't have the apparatus or the infrastructure or the will or the smarts to force every one of us to take a shot against our will in 2021 and in 22. But they certainly did harm a lot of people in the process of trying to reach that goal, right? How many millions were force vaccinated against their will or coerced into vaccination against their will? How many millions lost their livelihoods and their friendships and their family members, right? To the divisive techniques that were deployed to get us all 100% universal uptake of that shot, right? So it is dangerous, but it's also not so dangerous at the same time. It's kind of a weird, way to frame that. But they have no problem with dead bodies. They have no problem, with collateral damage in their quest for extreme power and extreme control. And I think we're at a unique moment in history where a lot of the people who run things have gone mad. Like they're just simply off their rockers. They're off their rockers, all of them, from Biden to Trump to Elon Musk. They're crazy people. The way that they talk is insane. So we're dealing with a mad king kind of situation, and mad kings are dangerous. And your protection is going to be knowledge and understanding, your head screwed on straight, not staring at screens, and the mind strength to understand all of the ways that they seek to propagandize and also enslave us into their technocratic systems. That's where your power is. And we need more people with that power. We need more people understanding the power that they have and beginning to make good choices about the technology that helps them in their life and is beneficial, and the technology that not only will not help them, but will also help to enslave them if they accept it en masse. And these are the political discussions that we need to be having today. And thankfully, these are happening across the country. You're just not seeing it on the mainstream news media because, well, the technocrats have control of that for now as well. So let's get in that space, though, and begin to prepare to stand up for liberty and to protect our minds and the minds of our children and our families. So you guys are amazing. Really appreciate all of you today. Went a little bit long on the show with Patrick, but I wanted to give him as much time as possible. And we started a little bit late, and then he came in a little bit late as well. So appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for being with us today on the SJ Show. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all again.